New York.
All right, now for the music. Hey everyone, this is a Drum Talk TV news desk report. It's been 2 weeks since the last time we did one of these because we took a little break for a bit, but we're back and we have some updates on music news and also what's going on with Drum Talk TV these days and Drum Talk TV Brilliance, our membership site. But yeah, chime in on any topics we talk about here. And yeah, let's roll with it. So, Danielle, how have you been?
I'm good, Steven. How about you? How was your break?
Good. Had a pretty good, relaxing break. And yeah, it's
Good.
kind of nice to get back in the swing of things,
Yep.
catching up on music and such.
I'm still full. I'm still full on Thanksgiving dinner. So,
Right. Yeah. So we're Danielle Major and Steven Shinder. And so for the icebreaker, I came up with something. This is kind of based on some talk I had seen going on around the web because of a certain recent movie called Wicked. Have you heard
mhm.
of how people are like sort of debating whether to sing along to movies or not?
Yeah. I think that there's some scenarios where it's expected, like for instance, like a Rocky Horror Picture Show that's been out and people know it. But I
Yeah.
feel like there's also a lot of people who don't know it who want to like it or get into it. And then when you have all these other people maybe like singing along or like dancing or singing like during it, it I don't know, kind of throws you off in a way to where it's like I want to learn about this, but someone's like kind of spoiling it. Not spoiling, it's like because you're just hearing the song for the
Yeah.
first time, or just like getting like learning and like adapting to the characters and getting to the story and the plot line. And you definitely want people to have fun, but it may be if like movie theaters were to point out like this is an interactive theater where you can be welcome to sing or dance or whatever while you're watching it, or if you're like a first timer, like that's not like maybe if they clarified or maybe had one showing where it was meant where you can sing and dance and people can sing along during it, or like maybe yeah, just title it. Sorry, someone's having an emergency.
No, yeah, I hope things are all right over there.
Yeah, no,
But
right.
yeah, like yeah, like the icebreaker is basically like I guess I should have said this up front. Like, how do you feel about people singing along to movies and to concerts? So there's
Yeah,
kind of a two-parter, I guess. And
yeah.
yeah, I also have thoughts, but what do you think of the concert aspect?
Concerts. So like this actually was something that I was kind of worried about when I was taking Mary Lee to go see Billie Eilish. Because if you watch any Billie Eilish concert or like Taylor Swift concert or Sabrina Carpenter, everybody's singing because everybody knows the words. So uh, everybody wants to sing because that's a part of the music. Like obviously, like with metal or other genres, it's a little bit different. No one's like people like brawling, in the audience. It's a little bit different. You mosh, everybody. There's different genres have different ways of expressing stuff. So I think it all depends on who you're singing, and it's going to be hard to stop anybody from singing. Yes, you will be surrounded by people who cannot sing on key. I experienced like six girls that are like age 9 to 14 behind me who were screaming, not singing, and it was kind of annoying. But they're there, they're trying to have fun. You're just you paid a lot of money to be there, and so you can't tell people not to or not influence it. So it just kind of happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and folks, if you're tuning in, go ahead and chime in on this icebreaker. But yeah, when it comes to so for the movie aspect, you made a good point that there's some movies like Rocky Horror where people are
Hmm.
expected to sort of sing along and do certain things during scenes because it's a classic. It's been seen time and
Right.
time again. I've never gone to Rocky Horror, but I know some friends who've gone
Hmm.
to it and they really enjoy it.
Yeah.
The closest experience I've had to that, I think I've told you about this, was when
When
I
you went to see the room.
yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
year ago. Me and my friends went to one of those screenings of The Room, and I was
But
kind of
that
not
was your first time, right? And things
yeah,
were
yeah.
happening, and you were totally, what the hell's going
Yeah, I
on?
was like, why is everyone throwing spoons? Why is everyone shouting,
Mm.
"Who are you?" And all these different things at certain points, and
Bye, doggy.
it, yeah, and like I still thought that the movie was funny, whether unintentionally or
Yeah.
intentionally, but I
Mhm.
think I definitely would have had a better first time experience watching it
Yeah,
in isolation, and then I could have
for
enjoyed
sure.
like the and it also like didn't help that me and my friends were like sitting close to the front. You know, they knew what to expect, but I didn't. So like the spoons like sometimes hit me and whatnot.
I bet that
Um,
was like a very different experience, and like how you can watch a movie, like not only seeing that movie for the first time, but also being that for the first time and surrounded by the people who already seen it. Like, so that was probably like a one of a kind type of experience for you. So
yeah,
I wish I could do that.
yeah, and when it comes to concerts, I feel like sometimes it might depend on the venue. Like if it's
Mhm.
like a little club or something where everyone is seated super close and the artists are
Mhm.
right there, maybe singing
Sure.
along isn't as encouraged unless the
Mhm.
artists themselves say,
Right.
you know this
Like
song,
if
sing
this was
along
like
to
a
it.
MTV unplugged scenario, people shouldn't be singing along.
Right. For a
Mhm.
stadium, maybe it's a bit better because there's more distance.
Mhm.
I do remember 8 years ago at a Yes concert, I was kind of singing along to one of the songs, but I don't think I was that loud. But someone sitting in the row in front of me turned around to shush me, and I felt kind of bad. And
Oh
so,
my gosh.
yeah, I've been kind of
I
mindful of
mean,
that ever since then.
yeah. Not everybody's gonna sing, but it's if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. I mean, stadiums definitely, maybe smaller venues not so much, but a lot of times it just comes down to like one part of a song that everybody's really familiar with. Because sometimes like not everybody knows the songs, especially if it's like a new album. So like that's why I say like if it's Billie Eilish and the Billie Eilish fans know every song and every word of every song, versus like just a regular band who may have like two or three big hits that are popular and all the other songs are kind of like, what are these songs? You don't get that as much. So I think it all depends on venue and artist. But yeah,
Yeah, I think it all boils down to reading the room, but
yeah, true.
pun not intended. But
Right?
um, but yeah, like with Wicked the musical, when I saw the musical 7 years ago, I don't think there was singing along to it because maybe
Yeah,
for
probably
some
not.
it was either people's first time or they know it so well but want to take in all
Mhm.
the audio. And I
Mhm.
think that is kind of similar to the movie, although they are. I remember hearing that there's gonna be like a sing along version
There
released
probably
or
will be.
whatever, so that'll be for some of
Yeah.
those people. So it's an interesting line to sort of
I'm
thread,
sure
I
they'll like
guess.
re-release it as like a sing along, and then people will go to that and then sing during it.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
people who know me know that I really loved that film. But yeah, um, so yeah, that's our icebreaker. And folks, feel free to chime in and um, even if it's like later on. But yeah, so next thing we have here. So one of the news items we have here is a bit of sad news. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so
I'll take
uh,
it from here.
okay, yeah,
Yeah. So former My Chemical Romance drummer Bob Bryar was found deceased in his home in Tennessee. He was the longest tenured drummer for the band. And he had recently retired from the music. Oh, he retired about 10 years ago. And he was involved in a lot of dog charities and sanctuaries and stuff like that. Yeah, I found out about this a few days ago, and I was kind of bummed out to hear. I was a huge MCR fan in high school. Even though it was like one of those bands, you had to be careful you told people you liked, because it was like if you told people you liked them too often, then you were like the poser emo kid. So you had to like them just enough, like publicly. At least like in high school, that's how it was for me. So um, but you either liked them or you just wore their shirts and black jinko pants constantly. And I was like, I was in the middle. Um, but yeah, I
yeah,
was really bummed out to hear that. So yeah.
yeah. Dad passed along the news to me. He's actually a I guess tuning in, he says, "I'm in Globe, Arizona, and a big fan of the show." So there you go. Of course, they're a big fan of the show.
Who's this
Dash.
guy?
Yeah, but um, but yeah, he passed along that news to me, and My Chemical Romance is a band that I've long been aware of, and I had classmates in like probably middle school and then for sure in high school who were really into them. But I was sort of in my own box, so I didn't explore them that much. But I've heard the occasional song or a couple of songs. I did listen to Gerard Way is in that band, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I did listen to his solo album within the past year, um, and I was really impressed with it. And so that kind of made me want to, yeah, it was called Hesitant Alien. And it kind of made me want to, at some point, circle back and check out the My Chemical Romance stuff and see how that
Yeah,
differs,
I
you
can
know?
send you like a top five, top 10 songs that are, in my opinion, are really good. I mean, I think they're a very talented band. I think that they're the ones who kind of cemented the whole emo movement, like between them and AFI and like a handful of other bands that were like that post Green Day, like emo grunge type sound. But they were very like creative in their time and like that moment, like that early 2000, 2003 era. Um, and they did have a lot of bands. There's a couple songs on drums that I've played on like for them or played to learn of My Chemical Romance that are they're pretty technically difficult at sometimes. Like they play at a very fast tempo sometimes, and a lot of offbeats, a lot of like weird 3/4 patterns sometimes. But I think that Bob was a very creative drummer
Mm.
on the Black Parade. He did a lot of things on that album that were
Yeah,
really
that's
interesting. So
a
if you listen to
popular
that
one. Yeah.
album, yeah, the Black Parade was really good, and it had it's kind of like a concept album meets regular studio, like because it was produced so well. Um, so yeah, I would definitely suggest listening to that because that's a really good album. So
Yeah, I've
um,
definitely heard the title track, and it's really epic. It
yeah, it's very
really
epic. They
hits,
have very
yeah.
epic moments. One track that you should listen to is called Helena or Helena, however you would call it. But that's
Okay.
one of my favorite MCR songs and one I play on drums frequently that I really like to play. So it's a good one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So Bob Bryar definitely leaves a huge legacy
yeah,
and will
for
be
sure.
remembered. And folks,
Absolutely.
chime in if you have a favorite performance of his or favorite song that he was on. Um, all right. So this next news item, Black Friday. So this past Friday saw the release of the documentary Beatles '64. This was on Disney Plus. I was able to watch it. Have you heard of this, Danielle? This documentary?
Oh, I've seen trailers for it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of a bit more about the fan side of things. You know, it's
Mm.
kind of an hour and a half documentary talking about how big Beatlemania was in that year,
Oh gosh.
1964. And so there's archive footage of interviews with fans out in the street that year, like after chasing the Beatles or right before chasing the Beatles. And
Oh my
you also
gosh.
have interviews like way after the fact, like recently, where people look back on that whole thing. You even have Paul and Ringo chiming in at a few different points. So I thought that made it a bit different from other documentaries in that it wasn't just the Beatles' perspective. So it was kind of refreshing in a way.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll probably watch that at some point. I remember, learning about the Beatles when I was younger, and like I always was like, what? Because you, as a kid, you see them, and you're like, who? There's just like four dudes with bowl cuts, and like
Yeah.
what? And they're black and white suits. I'm like, this looks boring. Because like you look at music, like you look at Aerosmith, and they're like colorful and crazy and weird. And you look at the Beatles, you're like, oh, this is just like these white dudes and the bowl cuts. Like how entertaining could this possibly be? And then you learn more
Yeah.
about them, and you're like, wow. They were really deep. That was a different, like, I didn't expect that. Okay, cool, interesting. And then they, obviously they evolved crazily over,
Yeah.
20 years and then went off to their solo things and were awesome. So, yeah, I always remember seeing like documentaries where you just see the white girls just screaming, like, ah, and then they pass out. I'm like, what? What's
Yeah.
anybody so excited about?
Yeah, what's kind of a funny moment in the archive footage is one of the people interviewing civilians on the street walks up to this woman and is like, "What do you think of the Beatles?" And she says, "Not interested," and keeps walking away. Yeah, this was back in '64. And also,
It's funny.
in a fascinating point that gets touched on for a couple minutes in the doc is, something I never really thought about, or maybe didn't really hear about, is, the Beatles themselves. Or I think one of them said that some of their stuff, some of their moves and whatnot, they got inspiration from black music, and you hear
Hmm.
about
Elvis.
the differences. Yeah, like Elvis was influenced as well, and you also hear differences between a version of a song from a black artist and a cover of that same song by a white artist, and a little bit of that gets lost. So yeah, it was kind of
Yeah,
fascinating the way that it touched on some of that.
yeah. There's a lot of segues between blues music and what we consider regular rock and roll,
Yeah,
like classic rock and roll music. There's a lot of connections. And I think that happens to do with a lot has to do with a lot of like stuff Elvis did. Even the guy who all shook up, the Jerry Lewis guy, even him, because he took a lot of blues piano, like Ray Charles stuff, and then turned into more of like a what you were talking about rock, like
right.
segue into that. So I think there's a lot. Like I think as long as the inspiration source is cited and people get like credit due, but I think it's important to acknowledge that. So yeah, I'll have to learn more about that too in
Yeah,
that documentary. Now you've piqued my interest. So okay,
right.
let's see. Next we have an article published by the Sun. Cher mentions that she will be releasing an album. In this is it this year she's gonna release it or next year?
I don't think there's a release date yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
would expect maybe next year at the earliest,
Okay.
but yeah.
So evidently she's gonna release an album sometime in the next year, and it will be her last album ever. So I'm assuming she's retiring, and this will be her first album of new material since her album Closer to the Truth came out in 2013. So that was
Yeah.
over 10 years ago that that happened. Okay. Interesting. I can't believe she's still around doing music, but she's Cher. So I guess
Right. Yeah.
my mom liked Cher a lot. She was pretty cool in the 70s.
Oh, did your mom like follow her like for a time?
Yeah, kind of for a little while. She just really liked her fashion and the way she her like her overall sense. She wasn't like huge in the music, but she just liked her like what she did. So yeah, and she liked Sonny
Okay.
and Cher. That was one of her favorite things. So yeah,
Okay. So yeah, she says it'll probably be her last album, and I guess we'll have to see if that turns out to be true. Like you never know what could happen.
right.
um, so this next bit of news, um, early 2025, we'll see the release of a live album from The Cure, and shout out to their drummer Jason Cooper. This will be titled "Songs of a Live World," Truxy London 2024, but it's 2024 in Roman numerals. This was recorded November 1st last month and served as the launch of their new album, Songs of a Lost World. And I've listened to this album, and it's kind of interesting because I mainly know The Cure for their hits, like Just Like Heaven, Friday, those types of things. So I was kind of taken off guard by how this didn't feel like just something you could put on the radio. Like this album felt a bit more complex and mature than I sort of imagined. So it really made me want to go back and explore the rest of the Cure's catalog because maybe I just don't have the correct
Yeah.
perception of what
Hmm.
they're all about.
Yeah. I've done that the same thing. Like Daniel really loves 80s music and a lot of like the new wave, like Blue Month, like New Order and like Depeche Mode and The Cure. And a lot of times, like you'll see the stuff like on the radio. Like we have like the XM radio, so we always tune into that. And it's always like the top five Cure songs. It's never like really the deep tracks. But when he's working, he plays like the whole albums, and I'll hear a song, and I'm like, wow, what is this? And he was like, this is The Cure, or it's Depeche Mode, or whoever. And I'm like, wow, I don't think I've ever heard this song. And he's like, yeah, probably not. It's never on the radio. And I was like, this is really good. He goes, this is so totally different. I'm like, he was like, yeah, and that's how it is with 80s songs. You just get like just cherry picking because it's 30 years ago, so it's like you don't get the same visibility of like their deeper songs. And I don't know if you've ever heard of a band called Arcadia. Do you know who Arcadia is?
I don't think I've heard of them.
So Arcadia was a band that actually was a break off of I think it's either Depeche Mode. Oh, is it all quick? It was
Yeah, because like the
Duran
one.
Duran's. It was Duran Duran's side project, and Arcadia. I
Okay.
think they did one album, maybe, and it was called So Red the Rose, and my Daniel had showed it to me, and I was like, wow. He was like, this is half of Duran Duran on their own project, and the whole album was just really good. Like these things, you don't know because you don't hear it on like the radio. So yeah, I think I've always really liked The Cure, and I've always tried to find like the deep tracks. And there's some songs that don't really sound like your typical Cure. So I'm on board with you on
Right.
the whole re-listening to the old Cure stuff because you never know what you'll find.
Yeah. So while this concert from last month was streamed on YouTube and will remain there, the audio for it will be mixed by Robert Smith, from The Cure, and will be
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
released re-released on vinyl, CD, and
Robert
cassette. In
Robert Smith is
uh,
like the '80s versions of like Trent Reznor because like Trent Reznor is like I don't know if you know this,
yeah,
but Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails. There are no members of Nine Inch Nails. It's Trent Reznor and whoever he decides to be his studio and or live musician. Sorry, not studio musicians, live musicians because he doesn't have studio musicians either. But Robert Smith is very much like like the early days version of that, where he's
okay,
always like he does everything. Like he writes the songs, he writes the lyrics, he does the instrumental parts. I know that the other members like obviously have their contributions, but I know he's a very big leader of that band, and nothing goes through the Cure without Robert Smith
yeah,
touching it. So
yeah, and I've seen
he's
Reznor's name attached to film scores. It's like
oh
I
yeah.
think Pixar's Soul, even of all things. So yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't be. Trent Reznor pops up in the places you would not least expect him to sometimes. So, like what?
right.
Okay, next up, I didn't know this until I read this brief that you came up with, and I'm very excited. I'm a huge, huge The Weeknd fan, and it's a lot because he fills a musical hole for me that Michael Jackson used to give me, and it's because Michael Jackson and his voice, you could listen to them, and then there's very little differences, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So evidently, he announced that his sixth studio album, which is going to be called "Hurry Up Tomorrow," comes out January 24th, and that's the final installment of his latest trilogy, following After Hours that came out in 2020 and Dawn FM that came out in 22. And evidently, he will be performing in the Rose Bowl Stadium and the Rose Bowl on January 25th. So, first of
Yeah,
all, I don't know if you know anything. I don't know if you're a huge Weeknd fan. I am. So, After Hours, that was the album that had Blinding Lights and like the really popular songs. And then Dawn FM had like Gasoline and Sacrifice and Save Your Tears, I
and is
think.
After Hours the title of just the album, or is it a song as well?
So if you've never heard After Hours, I would 1000% suggest listening to it when you have an hour to do nothing. After Hours, or sorry, Dawn FM, not After Hours. So After Hours came out first, and that was like he has a very theatrical like uh, videos, like all of his music videos tell like this like mini movie. There's four videos and four songs
Yeah,
that if you
like
watch, it's like
I'm
a
not.
mini movie.
I have seen maybe one of his music
Yeah.
videos. I think 2 years ago, my
Mm.
friend, who now my roommate, was having a Halloween party, and I think as it was getting super late, I
Uh,
fell asleep in the living room, and they had music videos playing on the TV, and I think I woke up to like one of the Weeknd's songs. So
that's
I kind of
funny.
wonder if maybe it's something from After
Yeah,
Hours or something
possibly.
else?
Yeah, so After Hours, it's like this story of this guy. His name's Abel. He's playing himself as himself in a way. It's like not him, but the name of the character is him. And it's kind of like the story goes, it's like kind of like this downward spiral he's having in Las Vegas where he's going to have fun, but then like things get too intense and then he gets too messed up and he starts kind of tripping and doing these things. And that's like how and then he hits a peak and then crashes and hits rock bottom. And then in Don FM actually what Don FM is it's a kind of more of a concept album that I love is that Don FM is the radio station for purgatory. So in essence, he's
Mm.
died and now he's in purgatory or like the in between place between life and death. And this is the radio station that's essentially playing while he's in this in between spot. And the VJ for this radio station is Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey is
Wait,
the
really?
host. Yes. Him and Jim Carrey are like best friends. They love each other. They were neighbors. They're like two houses down from each other. They had the story during 2020 where they couldn't have a birthday party. Jim called Abel the weekend and he said, "Hey, look out your window in 2 minutes." And he went, and Jim had released all 33 balloons out of his house to say happy birthday to the weekend, social distance wise. So like they're really good
Mm.
friends. So Jim Carrey actually he narrates in between the transitions of the songs. So he's like, you may be dialing in and you don't know where you are. There's lights here, there's lights there, and like it's very omniscient. And he has this very like he has these little speeches and monologues in between, like guiding like where are you gonna go, and it's this very '80s synth like Stranger Things kind of feel in the background. It's just so cool. So, ironically, that album it didn't get any nominations. There was like this lot of controversy for the Grammys, and I,
Mm.
on hands down, would say that that is 100% Grammy award winning album. That was one of the last, and I think I mentioned this. Quincy Jones produced that album with him, and he said
Oh,
this is the
wow.
best thing I've done since Thriller, and he said that confidently, like since Thriller, this is the best thing I've done, and this is Don FM he's talking about.
Yeah,
So
that's huge.
yeah, it is, and I was obsessed with this album. Like the first 2 months it came out, I had nothing else on my playlist other than Don FM songs. And he's old, like in the videos, he's an old man, and I'm sure you've seen the cover where it's just a weekend, but he looks like he's like 80.
Mm.
So it's a really cool concept album. It's one of my favorite albums of like all times of all bands and all artists. So to find out he's doing a third to go after Don FM, I'm like super pumped. And I gotta go talk to my brother about this after this show because he probably doesn't know. He's also a huge Weekend fan. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what comes after doing a radio station for Purgatory. Like, what are you gonna
Yeah.
follow that? So yeah, definitely. If you have a chance to listen to it, just listen to it all the way through. Don't skip anything. First song to last song. It's only like 14 songs, I think. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Okay. Yeah, like I feel like these last few years I've been branching out genre wise, so
Mhm.
I'm definitely excited to check out more of the weekends stuff and
Yeah,
see how it
there's
goes.
one song in particular. I'll pull it up real quick. I'm gonna just mention it. There's one song in particular that is very. It's track number 7. It's called "Out of Time," and if you hear that, it is so much like a Michael Jackson song. Like, it almost made me cry because I was like, I feel like I'm listening to a Michael Jackson song, and it's
Mm.
like a very smooth ballad, and you can hear like the touches of Quincy Jones and like what he did to Michael's music to how he's
Yeah,
applying
like
it now in
similar
a modern.
production
Yes,
work.
yeah, and he's because he always is quality over quantity. Like he always picks real musicians that play trumpet or trombone or brass, whatever. He never tries to do synthetic anything. He tries to do everything analog in a way that it sounds so good because the production is just so good. So yeah, definitely. I'm gonna shut up about it now. But yes, listen to that. I'm telling you, I'm probably gonna listen to it
Okay.
after this.
Nice.
I love it.
All
Okay,
right.
last news
And
update.
this next news update before we get into what's coming up for Drum Talk TV. So it's been announced that 21 Pilots uh, will be performing during the intermission of the National Hockey League match between the Columbus Blue Jackets and Detroit Red Wings on March 1st at Ohio Stadium. And of course, since we're a drummer channel, I guess I should mention Josh Dunn is the drummer of 21 Pilots for those or not
Hmm.
familiar with this duo, but
Who
yeah,
would thought two guys
how
could make so much noise?
yeah, how familiar are you with 21 Pilots,
I'm
Danielle?
very familiar. I played a lot of their songs. There's a video I have on, I think, Drum Talk TV, maybe, that's me playing Heavy Dirty Soul. I don't know if you know that song, but
Okay,
it's
yeah, it sounds
a very
familiar.
intense drum song. Yeah, I love 21 Pilots' drums. They always have like really epic build-ups, and it's just two just aren't they brothers? Right, the two guys. Because
Um,
I know, like, my brother went to see them live, and they were really, really good. So they just do a really good job, like performing too. Like I've seen some of
yeah,
their
yeah,
performances;
like I
they're
don't know
amazing.
much about their history, but I've definitely heard a few of their songs here and there, and I have
Yeah,
friends who like talk about them and
yeah,
whatnot.
they're
So they're
good.
definitely huge. Yeah.
Yeah, they are huge. Cool. I'm
Um,
excited to see that. That'll be interesting. I might have to flip over and watch hockey for 5 minutes during that.
yeah.
Okay, well, so it looks like we've got some really cool events. Stephen, we have two really badass events that are happening this week and this Saturday and this weekend. Um, so one, we have the generational trivia finale, which is our like big prize package special. So just listen to this. So if you want to play music trivia, it takes maybe an hour, and there's 3 rounds, and each round has 10 questions, and these are all questions about 60s, 70s, and 80s. And this could be anything about artists, like history, songs, titles, statistics, things like that. But if you play this game, it is free to play, free to enter. You do not have to be a member of DTV to join. And if you want to join, it's on Saturday, December 7th, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And each round, a winner will win $200 worth of prizes. So that's like $600 altogether.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's cool
200
and it's
plus. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah.
Right. So I'll go ahead
So
and show the
roll video. Yes.
promo we have.
Yes. Yeah. I had to
Nice.
have the music in that perfectly at the end. It was like, bah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm really excited about this. I think this has been one of our best like trivia put-togethers, like songs-wise. People love it. I think it's great. So if you, even if you're not a member, you can join this. We have put posts out. There's an event on our Facebook page also that links to it. So make sure you sign up RSVP and get in there. If not, or join our email list, and we'll email you the details on the day of. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, I'm posting the event link in the comments for
for
anyone who
sure.
might
Definitely do that.
be interested. But
Cool.
yeah,
And what else do we have going on this weekend, Steven?
yeah, so Sunday at December 8th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern US time, we have the watch party for the Drum Talk TV documentary titled Drum Talk TV: The First 10 Years. And this has been in the works for a while. You know, there's a 10th anniversary celebration back in May 2023. Some of us were in Las Vegas. And so Dad got interviewed by Jeff Berlin there, talked about the history of Drum Talk TV. And we also have like archive clips and stuff here, and there's a performance. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and show the promo for that so people can get a taste of that. Oh, I actually need to put the promo in here, so just give me 1 sec. Yeah, because it's kind of a
Yeah,
big
no worries.
file, so I had to
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think I've seen parts of it already, And I've watched most of it actually. Now that I think of it, I've watched it. And it's very cool the way Dan was able to edit it and put everything together. Um, I definitely learned more about the scope of how big Drum Talk TV is watching this. I didn't think that, you have people from like Ghana or Turkey or, Japan, saying hi to Dan and like, here's this thing I'm doing on drums. Like, whoa. So it's very
Yeah.
impressive to see, the outreach and how it affects people and the busking stuff about people playing on different types of drums and being like inventive and using what they have to make sound and rhythm and how that kind of spreads to other people and it inspires them to do that the same thing. It's just kind of reaffirms like music brings people together and being a musician is a very special gift and something that it's always to be embraced and celebrated. So I think it's very cool to have a film that really recaps all the progress and like all the people that Dan brought together and how you guys were able to build something from nothing into something that is, touches 100 million people or 1.3 million and all the reach that we have. So it's really cool. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, like all the fan curated content, like
Yeah.
it's really grown into a huge thing. And yeah, I have the file. It's processing right now. So
Okay. Well, I
but
can move on to
it,
the next thing if you want.
well, I
Let's
just
come
want to
back to
say
it.
that this will be broadcast on Facebook and YouTube and oh, okay, it's ready. So I'll go ahead and show it now.
Well, fun.
January 7th, 2013, I started Drum Talk TV. And here we are 10 years later, over 1 million fans. We reach about 10 million. Every year we've reached 100 million people a year.
Did you know that Drum Talk TV has fans from over 120 countries?
It's not just for drummers. It's for drummers, it's for other musicians, it's for everybody in the industry, but most importantly, it's for music fans because it's not just education. It's experiences. It's attending live online Q&As, talking to one of your favorite drummers or bass players or producers or guitar players. I love being what I call like the tooth fairy and finding things that I know are gonna interest people. We don't have to just learn back there or at a practice pad. We can learn from each other's perspectives based on our unique experiences. Anyone can do this. You don't have to be the next Jaco Pastorius to be featured on a platform like this. You don't have to be the next John Bonham or Buddy Rich or A.D. Adams or Les Warner. You just get out there and do it.
We're telling our story, 10 years of Drum Talk TV within a feature-length film. Whether you follow us for our interviews, industry news reports, 4 original series, documentaries, event coverage, silly memes, or features of our fans from all over the world, you are bound to learn something new about Drum Talk TV to enjoy. Releasing on December 8th with a live online watch party, only on the Drum Talk TV Facebook and YouTube channels. See the details in the post and RSVP.
Yeah, that looks so
Yeah.
good. I love the way you edited that. I'm really excited. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, same. Because
Yeah,
I've seen a version of it, but I don't think I've seen the final
the
version.
final,
So,
final, the final,
yeah,
final.
the
Yeah,
final parentheses final parentheses two
dash and dash
parentheses.
effing final.
Yeah.
In there.
Right.
Cool. All right, yeah, I'm excited for that. That's gonna again. That's on Sunday, December 8th, 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. It's gonna be fun. We can watch live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, either one. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
okay. And then the last thing I'm going to mention, we still have the Keith Moon Drumming Challenge, which is the open, free to enter drumming challenge showcase. So, because it is the hula days, as Stephen
Yeah.
has created, hula days.
I'm like way too proud of
Are
that
you?
pun.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Take it. Take it. It's the hula days, and Keith Moon was the perfect person after the John Bonham. So if you like the Who, if you like Keith Moon, now remember we will be accepting Keith Moon played songs. So pretty much up anything until 19 was it 74, 75, 78, 79.
78. Yeah.
Yeah, 79. Well, that's the last album they had, but yeah. So
Yeah,
up to
with it.
78,
Yeah.
79 with Keith Moon, which is mainly most of their albums. Um, and you can sign up. If you want to put the link in the post, that'd be great. But we have a video to play to give you details on that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So here it is.
Attention drummers! It's time to showcase your skills in the ultimate Keith Moon drumming challenge, playing to the music of The Who. Join the Keith Moon Play Along Challenge in the Drum Talk TV Brilliance Showcase. Here's how. Pick as many songs by The Who with Keith playing you'd like to do. Then video record yourself playing and upload it to the Brilliance website. We can hardly wait to see your videos. Just don't blow up any toilets. The prizes are in the video description. Be part of the challenge. Join us at www.drumtalktvbrilliance.com for free. No credit card, subscription, or purchase necessary. Now come on and get moony with it.
I'm gonna
Nice.
explain real quickly because she says don't blow up any toilets. Maybe
Right.
people may or may not know this reference, but as I was researching stuff about Keith Moon, I know him as like an artist, but as a person, I was didn't have much knowledge. But evidently, he was known for blowing up toilets in hotels that they went touring in, causing lots of damage. And evidently, one of their first big tours, he had caused so much damage to all the hotels that by the end of the tour, they had lost money paying for all the constructions and hotels than they made for the tour. It was $300,000 in total damages from this one summer tour that they did, and that's more money than they made from it personally. So I just thought that was a very interesting, interesting fact.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't know someone could be that
But
interested in blowing up toilets.
yeah. But yeah, there will be first, second, and third place prizes, which are 125, 75, and $50 respectively gift
Yep,
certificates to your favorite music store, plus
yep,
a Drum Talk TV shirt.
yeah,
And yeah, this is you know, I have really fun stuff celebrating Keith Moon and The Who, so it's gonna be really fun. Submit up until December 15th, and
yep,
yeah, we've gotten a few so far, and curious to see what else may come
yeah.
through.
I'll think
And
about entering.
oh, okay. And just a quick shout out. Dad mentioned that Jack Bassett did the editing of the Drum
Oh, yeah,
Talk
that's
TV
right.
documentary
That's right.
promo we just showed.
That's
So
true.
yeah,
He
shout
did
out
a
to
wonderful
Jack there.
job. Thanks, Jack. You did an amazing job.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool. So the next thing we do is our This Day in Music. So December 4th, 1971. Wow, that's a long time ago. Led Zeppelin started a 2-week run on number one on the UK charts with the Four Symbols album, otherwise known as Led Zeppelin 4, featuring the 8-minute track "Stairway to Heaven." Heard of that song?
Yeah, I think I've
The
heard it.
album. You think so? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think I have.
I'll have to think about it. The album stayed on the U.S. charts for just 1 week short. Wait, for 1 week short of 5 years.
Yeah, that's what it says.
So it was so it was on the U.S. charts for 5 years.
Yeah, apparently
Holy crap! Oh
yeah,
my
that's what the fact that I
god!
found
I
it
can kind
this
of
way. So
believe that. Yeah.
yeah,
Selling over 200 or 23 million copies in the U.S. alone. Wow. Okay, I believe it.
yeah. And in 1964, so kind of time back to what we talked about earlier with the Beatles. The
Yeah.
Beatles released their fourth album, Beatles for Sale. I kind of wish that the word "for" had been the number four, but whatever. I guess it's
Right.
too late. The album featured "No Reply," "I'm a Loser," "Babies in Black," "Rock and Roll Music," "I'll Follow the Sun," "Mr. Moonlight," "Kansas City" slash "Hey Hey Hey Hey," "8 Days a Week." That's a huge one there.
That's a good one.
"Words of Love," "Honey Don't," "Every Little Thing," "I Don't Want to Spoil the Party," "What You're Doing," and "Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby." It spent 11 weeks as the UK number one album. Really
Yep.
impressive.
Cool. And then this day, December 4th, the last one we have closing out is in 1956, the so-called Million Dollar Quartet impromptu jam session took place at the Sun Studios in Memphis. And if you don't know who that was Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and Carl Perkins. So that would have been very cool. I think I've heard that one before.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
All right.
Well,
Well,
thanks, Steven. What?
oh, yeah, I was just gonna say this has been fun, and
Yeah, of course. It always is
just
fun.
yeah, and just so people know, there will be 50th anniversary celebration of albums from 1974. I think Dad is still working out. We're working out the logistics of that with him, so keep an eye out for what our posts say in the near future. And he'll also be on Under the Influence, a Drum Talk TV series he does with Lou Calderola, on December 22nd at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be holiday themed. And there might be a couple other things on Yes Shift closing out the year. I might do a review tomorrow of the new Jazz Sabbath album, the 1968 tapes. And then I think there's a Dave Kersner album that Dad and I will talk about after that comes out
Cool.
later this month. And we might do a year in review type thing as well. So fun
Nice.
stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I think a good like
All right.
yearly recap of like things that have happened between like what's happened in like music and movies and what we've done and blah blah blah. I think that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well,
Yeah,
thanks,
on
Steven.
Yes Shift, it'll be focused on Yes and related stuff. But yeah, a
Okay.
lot has really happened this year. It's
Yeah,
really,
it has.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
cool.
This is awesome
All
as always. All right. Signing off. I'm
right.
Danielle. Thanks. Bye, Drum Talk TV World. See you next week.
All right. See you next time, everyone. Whoever it may be next time. A shout out to Ariana, who will hopefully be back next week, but we'll see what happens, and you'll have a team either way.